Good evening, class. This is Mr. Dearbone, and we will go into chapter 12 and talk about persuasion. Now, we noted in earlier chapters that the main point of a speech is to inform, to entertain, and to persuade. So, with this chapter, we're going to look at what persuasion is. This will also coincide with your problem and solution speech that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. So, we will look at what persuasion is and how persuasion plays into communication. So, first of all, the definition of persuasion is human communication designed to influence the autonomous judgments of others. Remember, persuasion is a judgment, not a certainty. Your goal is to try to get somebody to think like you think, believe what you believe, or act in a certain way. That is your goal when you persuade somebody. However, there's not a guarantee that you will be able to successfully make that person do it. You look at political campaigns, and I'll probably talk about that a lot during this lecture. Political campaigns. Each candidate is trying to persuade you to vote for them. Now, just because they try to persuade you doesn't mean you're going to necessarily vote for them, because your beliefs and judgments, your thought process may not be what they want yours to be. But their goal is to persuade you. So what you do is based off of your own judgment. It's not guaranteed that because somebody says something, you're going to do it. So when we look at persuasion, there is a law of ethics that comes along with it. First, we have to understand that all deception is persuasion, but all persuasion is not deception. So, meaning, anytime you deceive somebody, you trick them, you are using persuasion. Anytime you deceive somebody to let you leave the house a little early, or you're going to sneak out, or you're going to do something wrong, you're using persuasion. However, not all times are you persuading somebody to do something bad. You could persuade somebody to go to church. You could persuade somebody to eat the rest of their food. These can be beneficial persuasions, good persuasions. However, there are the deceptive kind, and that's what deception is, persuasion to do evil or to do wrong. The ethics depend on your situation, your persuadee, and the costs and the benefits. Your ethics on who and what you persuade will depend on the situation. If it's a situation where you want to go to a party, but your parents have said no, so now you have to ethically think, how do I persuade my parents? Do I honestly tell them where I want to go, or do I lie to them and say that I'm going to a friend's house and let me go to this friend's house? So your situation dictates if you're going to be ethical in your persuasion or unethical. The persuadee. Is the person that you're trying to persuade easily influenced? Is it someone that if you just say, hey, I'm trying to go to this party, you should let me go, and here's the reasons why, they will say yes automatically? Or are they somebody that will say, no, I don't believe you should go to this party. I think you need to stay home. And then costs and benefits. What are the costs? Is it worth it to try to persuade somebody to do something that I want them to do? Is there a benefit in it, or does it cost too much? Yeah, I could go to this party. I could persuade my parents to let me go to this party, but the cost is that if I get caught where I'm not supposed to be, I'm going to get in trouble. But the benefit is I get to see my friends. So is the cost and benefit worth it? And then soul leading. Aristotle talks about soul leading. You'll find that a lot in religion. You'll find that a lot in romanticism and love. Soul leading is getting people to follow you, like the Pied Piper was able to get people to follow him. He played music and people followed. A lot of times when you see churches, you have a flock of members. You have brethren and parishioners, people who follow the lead of the church because their souls are leading them to follow. Something tells them, I need to follow this person. I need to do what they say I should do. But also remember that truth is greater than falsehood. You can lie to people to get them to do what you want them to do. However, the truth will always come out, and the truth will always be a better persuasion than a lie, because the truth will hold up. The truth cannot be questioned. The truth cannot be changed. Whereas a falsehood, a lie, can be broken down. People can see through a lie. A lie can be proven to be false. I want to go back to soul leading real quick. Think about we talked about religion and how that's a good thing. Think about cults. If you've ever heard of a cult or you've ever learned about a cult is the wrong version, the bad version of soul leading. Knowing that you have all these people that believe in you, that follow you because their souls are telling them that you are the leader, the person that has the plan. Cults are created through negative soul leading. People that will tell groups of people, drink this Kool-Aid. There's been cult leaders that have had poisoned Kool-Aid that they've had their members drink in order to go to planets beyond the sun or to commit murders in their name, all these different things in order to be able to count themselves as ethical, as soul-leading individuals. So the ingredients to be a persuader. You have logos. Logos is when you use information. You use facts and figures to try to persuade somebody to do something. So for example, if I want to persuade you not to smoke, I might say that 75% of all high school students who smoke will be dead by the age of 35. Or I might say that there's an 85% chance that you will develop lung cancer. I'm using facts and figures in order to persuade you. This works for some people. It might be that I have to use pathos. Pathos is using emotion in order to persuade somebody. So maybe instead of using facts and figures, I tell you a story about how my grandfather died from smoking, how he had lung cancer, and how every day he would cough up black stuff. He looked frail, he looked weak. Maybe that's what I use to get your emotions going. I'll tell you a story from high school. I was in a class that talked about smoking and the effects of smoking and dipping. Well, they gave us this picture, a two-sided paper. On one side, this happy, healthy-looking high school guy, about ready to go to college, talked about how smart he was and intelligent he was. You flip the paper over, and there's a picture of this guy sitting in a chair with a blanket covering him, tubes in and out of his face, half of his jaw missing. It was the same guy that we had seen on the picture on the front part of the paper, but it talked about how this guy dipped, and now because of dip, he had developed mouth cancer and throat cancer, and how he died months after that picture was taken of him sitting there with all the tubes in his mouth. So that was persuading us using our emotions of, oh my God, I'm scared. Oh my God, I'm sad for this guy. We didn't want to use dip because of that. That was using the emotional aspect. Or even those commercials where they have the puppies that are in the shelters that look scared and sad. Maybe they're missing a leg or an arm and they've got the sad songs. That's using pathos because all of a sudden you want to go protect those dogs. Either go get them food, go get them out of the shelter, something. And then you have ethos. This is when you use credibility in order to persuade somebody. A lot of times you'll see this in commercials. Right now you see the Verizon commercials with Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx is an actor. So all of a sudden, because we all know who Jamie Foxx is, we all want to buy Verizon phones. We want to be on the Verizon plan because Jamie Foxx said so. Look at Air Jordans. Everyone 20 years ago, even now, want to wear Air Jordans. Why? Because Michael Jordan's name is attached to him. He is ethos. His credibility as a basketball player makes his shoes popular. Now, will you play like Michael Jordan if you get a pair of Air Jordans? No. If you're a bad basketball player before you got the shoes, you'll be a bad basketball player with the shoes. But because Michael Jordan's name is attached to him, everybody wants a pair of Air Jordans. He is ethos. That's why commercials, you see a lot of celebrities on there trying to sell you products because Just because that celebrity is there, you automatically want that product. You automatically think that product is great. So I posted on Blackboard under the discussion board several commercials for you to watch. Look at those commercials, see which ones have ethos, logos, and pathos. And also notice that some commercials have a mixture. Some commercials have all three. Some commercials have logos and pathos. Some have pathos and ethos. Some have ethos and logos. Look at how they use those intertwined to capture you on a couple of different levels. Look at that and notice next time you watch TV, what commercials are using. Are they using strictly logos? Are they using pathos? Are they using ethos? What are they using in order to capture your attention as a viewer and make you want to go out and buy whatever they're trying to sell you or do whatever they're asking you to do? So several things we have to take into consideration while we are persuading people. You're playing on people's belief systems, their convictions, whether they believe something is true or false or not. It's a short-term belief, but it's enough to get them to do what you want them to do. So for example, especially with the political system we're in now, if you believe that politicians lie, I'm trying to convince you that politicians are good people. They don't lie. But your belief is that they lie. That is the conviction within you that politicians lie. That belief creates an attitude that politicians, because they lie, they must stink. They must not be good people. I don't like politicians. It's a short-term belief, it's a short-term attitude again, but this is what you've evaluated, because since they lie, you've evaluated that they are bad people. So then your value, based off of your own personal judgments, which is a long-term thing because you've had your judgments all of your life. Lying is bad. Maybe it's that politicians are all bad. Politicians, the political system is broken. That is your values because of your beliefs, attitudes, and values. The more somebody believes in their values, beliefs, and attitudes, the harder it is to persuade them. If you have somebody that really doesn't care, they really don't have a strong belief system, they really don't have strong values or attitudes, it's very easy to persuade them. But if you have somebody who's very strong in their beliefs, good luck trying to change their mind. For example, look at politicians, Democrats and Republicans. There are people that were born Democrats or born Republicans and will die that way. They will never vote for somebody from the other party. It doesn't matter who the candidate is. They are so strong in their belief system, you will never, never change that. So when we look at persuasion, we look at content. The content is the actual information in your speech. This is the information you provide. This is the meat, the content, the middle part of your speech. This is the content. This is the information that you provide. The relational level is everything else. Sometimes it's the content that persuades people. Sometimes it's the relational level. Maybe your content is weak or they don't like your content, but maybe it's the way you look, it's the way you carry yourself, the way your voice sounds, the visual aids you use. Maybe it's the surrounding, the building that you're having your speech in. Everything else can contribute to persuading somebody. Maybe everything else is weak, but your content, the actual information you provide, is strong. That can be used to persuade people. So there's persuasion by degrees. There's response shaping. This is when you create a new belief. If somebody creates a product right now, your response shaping is creating how people feel about this product. Maybe it's a new soda, a new pumpkin spice flavored soft drink. So you have to create how people feel about that. And you use advertising, you use commercials and pictures and whatever to create that response. Response reinforcing. Let's say this pumpkin spice flavored soda's been out for a couple of years and a lot of people start to drink it. So now you reinforce that response by saying, by saying, if you're already drinking it, good job, keep on drinking it. You're drinking the right drink. It's the best drink out there. You're just reinforcing that what they're doing is correct. And then you have response changing. So this is now where, let's say you've got people that are drinking your pumpkin spice flavored soda, but then the guy down the street comes out with a peppermint flavored soda. And his job is to try to change your mind and now make everybody who's drinking your pumpkin spice flavored drink his peppermint flavored drink. So now he's trying to change your response and make you drink his drink. Coke versus Pepsi, great example. If you're a Coke fan and you've been drinking Coke all your life, it's going to be hard for you to change over to Pepsi. But if somebody knows how to, they market it right, they can make you change to Pepsi because now Pepsi is the one that you want. So what makes people change? What makes people give in to persuasion? Motivation. You've got to motivate people to want to change over and do what you want them to do or believe how you want them to believe. So the first way we achieve motivation is acquisition. You get something if you do this. Why do people go to school? Because you will get a college degree or a high school diploma if you do this. Why do people go to the store and buy stuff? Because they will get something. Why do you work? To get money. That is the acquisition. You'll get something if you do this. Protection, to keep something good. In order to protect your family, in order to be able to keep your family safe, you buy a gun. To keep your nice, healthy, happy family safe from whoever's outside, we're going to buy a gun. That's protection. Or in order to make sure that I have enough food on the table, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to protect a good, something good that's already happened. I'm going to protect it and keep it. The next one is relief, to get rid of a bad. So in order to decrease my chances of dying of lung cancer, I'm going to stop smoking. I'm getting rid of that bad. If smoking is bad and it causes all these terrible diseases, I'm going to get relief from it. I'm going to get rid of it. And then prevention, to keep a bad thing from happening. So rather than go to jail for stealing, I'm going to just pay for whatever the product is. When your friend said, hey man, just steal it. Just steal it. It's okay. No one will ever know. No. The other person motivates you, hey, don't steal it. Because if you steal it, you're going to go to jail. And you're going to go to jail for 3 or 4 days. You're going to have to tell your parents about it. So you're preventing a bad from happening. Or you sign a petition because they're about to raise tuition at whatever college you go to. So rather than just letting that happen, you try to prevent it from happening by signing this petition that will hopefully keep the tuition rates low. So you've motivated the people, or you've tried to. You've got to frame your strategies. Sometimes it's about being really positive. It's about showing positivity. This is a good thing. Hey, everything's going to be great if you do this certain thing or you think this certain way. Look at Donald Trump. In a lot of ways, his message is trying to be positive. He's like, let's make America great again. That's positive. Hillary Clinton's like, we're together. We're being together. That's a positive way of framing why you should vote for them. However, there's also a negative. You could also look at Donald Trump's campaign and say that he's being negative about the country, saying that the country is no longer great, that we're bad, that we need to be fixed. So now that's a negative framing. So now people are thinking, you know what, maybe the country is bad. Maybe there are things that need to be fixed. So I'm going to vote for him. He's using that type of persuasion to get his message across. Look at how things were previously framed. Maybe the person behind you framed something in a funny way. Maybe it didn't work so well. So now you're going to frame it in a more serious way. You try to do something different than the person in front of you. Maybe you're trying to get people to volunteer for a project at school, and the people in front of you tried to use signs and banners, and nobody showed up. So now you're in charge. So your way of doing it is giving out something. Maybe you're giving out candy. Maybe you're talking to teachers to where that the people that participate get extra credit in class. You're doing something different than the person in front of you did. And meta communication. This is when you explain to your audience how you're going to frame it. You tell them, I'm going to frame this in a positive light for you, or I'm going to frame this in a negative light for you. That way your audience feels like you're not trying to trick them. They feel like you're trying to be honest with them. Whether you are or not, you might be deceiving them, but at least they feel like you're trying to be honest with them and be on the level with them. So in order to persuade somebody, you can't just walk in and just decide, I'm going to persuade you and I'm just going to do it without any planning. No, you have to plan. So first you set your goal. What is your goal? What is the thing you hope you gather from persuading somebody? Maybe my goal is to get the entire football stadium at WKU filled up with fans for the next home game. That's my goal. So next, I'm going to do some research and development. What things have they done in the past to get students there? Has it been that they've given free stuff? Has it been that certain opponents, certain teams they play draw better than other teams? Maybe it's that certain times of the year when the weather's better, students will come out more. What is it? From there, I'll create a basic strategy. Maybe I'll say, okay, you know what? It seems that students like to get stuff. So if I start giving out stuff to get students to come to the game, that will help me out. And maybe also I'm allowing students to get extra credit for classes if they show up at a sporting event, at a football game. I'm creating a basic strategy of how I'm going to get them in. From there, I'm activating the audience with a detailed action plan. So now I go to the audience, I go to the student body and I tell them, look, here's how we're going to do this. I want everybody at LT Smith Stadium. So I'm going to give out free koozies to everyone who shows up, as well as free WKU jackets. And on top of that, I've already talked to your professors, so now all you have to do is show up, scan your ID, and you get extra credit. But make sure you bring your ID. Make sure you come in by 5 o'clock, or else it doesn't count. You tell your audience exactly what they're going to do. And make sure that you understand that when you persuade somebody to do something, it has to be a physical action that they can do. It's not something that they need to sit and just think about. It needs to be something they can physically do. Physically go here, physically do this. That needs to be a part of your end goal. So now, some different persuasive strategies you need to use. The first one, and we look at language, pronoun usage. Use we, us. These words are inclusive. That way, if I'm talking about doing something, I'm talking about all of us, me included. If I say you guys need to do something, that sounds like I'm telling you to do it, but I'm not involved. And you're not going to want to be involved either, because if I'm not involved, why would you want to be involved? So if you use words like we, us, our, that makes it feel like I'm part of it. I'm in this with you. Whatever I'm asking you to do, I'm doing myself. You maximize. You maximize the importance of why you're doing what you're doing. Why is this so important? Everyone needs to do this. This is something that is urgent. Can't wait. We've got to do this. This is so important. And you do that through repetition. If you look at the sign on here, you see the word sale multiple times. That shows you how big this sale is. If you saw the sign once, you might say, okay, it's a sale. Not that big of a deal. But when you see it 5 or 6, 7 times, that means this must be a really big sale. I need to walk in there and see what they're trying to sell. Composition. Things always sound better if they're giving a discount and they say, you get a discount of more than 25%. That sounds better than, okay, $2 will be taken off of whatever product you're buying. But if they say more than 25%, you're going to rush in there. Look at these commercials for clothing stores, the Labor Day sales. You get at least 55% off. That sounds better than $10 for every shirt that you buy. Sometimes you need to minimize the damage, minimize why something should or shouldn't be done. So maybe if you're trying to get somebody to give blood, you omit the fact that it's gonna hurt getting stuck with a needle. You don't really talk about that. Don't mention that, because that'll scare somebody off. They won't want to give blood if they know they get stuck with a needle. If they ask, well, what about the needle? Divert it and say, hey, you know what? There are so many people that are giving blood, and you're helping out, thousands of people that may need blood one day. You divert the topic off of what they're talking about. Divert it to something else so that they forget about what they were asking you. We talk about forewarning, appearing objective. If you forewarn your audience what you're talking about and why you're talking about it, it makes them feel like you're being objective, like you're not trying to lie to them or sell them a bill of false goods. This picture that you'll see on the PowerPoint, which says, would you rather have a cholesterol test or a final exam? It does several things. First, it creates cost benefit. What's the cost of not getting the cholesterol test? It could be that I die. What's the benefit of getting the cholesterol test? I could live. Unbalancing. You see somebody with a toe tag on them. That will scare you. That'll unnerve you. It makes you feel uncomfortable, and that's what unbalancing is. Unbalancing is trying to make the person feel nervous, feel scared. If I tell you that just by smoking a cigarette, that takes a full 7 hours off your life or a full 7 minutes off your life, that may scare you. That may shake you up. If I say that by texting and driving, you're 95% likely to die in a car wreck, that scares you. That makes you nervous. All of a sudden, you don't want to do that anymore. Social penetration. When everybody's talking about it, when everybody's saying, you need to do this, you should do that. Social peer pressure now all of a sudden, because everybody else is saying that it should be done, you start to fall in that same path as well. Memorable. We go back to this picture of the toe tag. That's memorable. That makes you remember this. You think about it every time you think, I don't need a cholesterol test. That picture of the student, of the guy who died from dipping. It's been at least 15, 20 years since I've seen that picture. I still remember it to this day. I still can see that guy's face, how he looked like before and how he looked like after. It's memorable to me. It doesn't go away. It always persuades me. Even if I were to look at something like dip, I think about that guy, and it makes me want to not do it. So other persuasive strategies. Uber schmo. Mike, can't think of his last name, but the guy who hosts Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe, is an Uber schmo. An Uber schmo is basically somebody who knows a lot about a topic, but he looks like he's relatable to everybody. So Mike Rowe doesn't dress up in suits and ties. Mike Rowe dresses up like the rest of us. Jeans, t-shirt, baseball cap. He seems like the normal everyday guy. But the thing about him is that he knows a lot about a lot of different topics. He's a very educated, smart person. He is somebody that could persuade you a lot better than somebody who's dressed up in a suit and tie, because they don't feel like you. They feel like somebody trying to sell you something, somebody who's up on a different level trying to sell you something, whereas he feels like a guy you could just sit down, have a cup of coffee with, have a few laughs with, and just hang out. So you have the yes, yes, and the yes, but. Yes, yes means, so since there's an issue, we need to fix this. Since there's not enough blood in the blood bank, we need to fix this. Yes means, well, excuse me, yes, but means, yes, we have people giving blood, but we don't have enough. Yes, there's enough people to maybe get us through the winter months with blood, but we don't have enough people giving your specific type of blood, so we need you. There's audience use. If you watch infomercials, or you see these commercials where they have somebody in the audience get up and testify, give a testimonial about how they've used a certain product, and now they're able to do, whatever. Maybe the product, maybe they're saying that they use this blender, and the blender was great. It blended their shakes better than they've ever had it before. They're using somebody in the audience, somebody who's not being paid or being positioned to say this product is great in order to do it. Altar casting. Altar casting is basically saying, if you were a good person, you would do this. If you were a nice person, you would give to this charity. If you are a good person, you're not going to keep that money in your wallet. You're going to give. If you're in church, they hand out the mission pan. If you're a good person, you're going to put money back in there. You're going to put money in the collection plate. If you're a good person. Altruism. Altruism is doing things out of the goodness of your heart, not because you're going to get recognized by an organization or by a person, not because you're going to get something in return, but doing it out of the goodness of your heart, just because you know it's the right thing. Other strategies is self-feeling. You'll get a good feeling if you do this. You'll get a good feeling if you go and vote. You'll get a good feeling if you go to the homeless shelter and work in the soup kitchen. Suggest. This is when you tell them exactly how they should do something. You suggest, hey, you need to go down to the soup kitchen at 5 o'clock and there's going to be a bunch of people there, and you serve them food for an hour. You suggest how they do this stuff. Surveillance. If you look at the picture, we've got Santa Claus. This is the Santa Claus effect. Santa Claus says that he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sakes. Santa Claus is always watching you. So if you put in the persuasion of, I'll know if you did what I asked you to do or not. Your parents, take out the trash. You don't take out the trash. They know because the trash never moved. So your parents know, Santa knows, if you believe in religion, God knows, you're constantly being watched. They will know if you do or don't do what you've been asked to do. And then the why not. Here's a quick example of what the why not is. Let's say you want to ask somebody out. You ask them out once. They say no. Okay, so then you ask them out a second time. They say no again. Third time, you change up your strategy because you really want to go out on a date with this person. You go up to them and say, give me 3 reasons why you won't go out on a date with me. If that person doesn't have 3 reasons why they won't go on a date with you, then you say, well, why not? Since you don't have 3 reasons why you can't go on a date with me, why not just go out on a date with me? So sometimes you persuade people with why not. Donald Trump used that with African Americans. He said, what have you got to lose? He talked about how the schools were bad, the economy for African Americans were bad. So he said, why not? What have you got to lose? You might as well vote for me. In some ways, that is persuasive, depending on who you are trying to persuade. Now, Cialdini, another theorist, had his own principles. So he has compare contrast. So if I'm trying to persuade you to eat at McDonald's versus Burger King, I'm going to talk about how McDonald's sandwiches are healthier, they taste better, they're smaller, they're less messy, they're put together better, more people like McDonald's. Then I'll give you all the reasons why Burger King is bad. So I'll give you compare, contrast. That is one way to persuade somebody. The door in the face model. So when you're trying to get somebody to do something, sometimes you have to start off small. Well, excuse me, so the door in the face, I apologize, let me go back. So door in the face is you start off big. So maybe you tell somebody, hey, I want to marry you. Let's get married right now. Somebody you just met. Let's get married right now. And they say, no, there's no way. I just met you 10 minutes ago. I'm not going to marry you. Okay, so how about this? Let's get engaged. No, still, I just met you 10 minutes ago. Okay, well, how about you go out on a date with me? No, we just met 10 minutes ago. Okay, well, how about this? Can we at least be friends? And the person says yes. So you basically went from the biggest possible thing down to the smallest thing, because you knew that they wouldn't marry you, but at least they'll be your friend. So you went from the door in the face. Or you can use the foot in the door. You reverse that. So, hey, you want to be friends? Sure. Hey, do you want to go out on a date? Okay. Hey, do you want to get engaged? Yes. Hey, let's get married right now. So you went from sticking your foot in the door to getting them to finally open the door all the way. You can use one or the other. You can't use them both at the same time. Social proof. Everybody else is doing it. Look at everybody else in the city, in the town, in the community, on campus. Everybody is doing it. So if everybody else is doing it, you should be doing it too. And you can see that everybody else is doing it. Authority. Sometimes people use their authority to make people do what they want. Your boss may say, well, because I'm your boss, you need to do this. It's in your best interest to do this. Me as a teacher, I could say, well, in order for me to give you a good grade, I think it's in your best interest that you bring me food every day. You bring me a sandwich. You bring me an apple. You give me $10. I'm using my authority to make you do something. Or I could use it in the positive effect of, because I'm your teacher, I think you should apply for this scholarship. I believe in you, and I'm your teacher. So now you're going to apply for that scholarship because I've persuaded you using my authority to make you do it, or to hopefully make you want to do it. And then sometimes it's scarcity. Sometimes people are persuaded by the fact there's not a lot of something there. Think about the McRib sandwich. Think about pumpkin spice, everything. I was talking to some friends earlier today. Pumpkin spice stuff is only from October to December. Then it's gone for the rest of the year. So that's why people love Starbucks pumpkin spice drinks, pumpkin spice cake, pumpkin spice donuts, pumpkin spice everything, because it's only there for a short amount of time. So if pumpkin spice was around all year long, people wouldn't be as apt to go out and buy it, to go get pumpkin spice coffee, because they could get it any time. But because it's only around for a short amount of time, all of a sudden people want it now. The McRib sandwich only comes around once a year. McDonald's will have it out for about a month. And then after that month's over with, it's gone. So that's why when it comes out, everybody runs to McDonald's to get a McRib sandwich, because they haven't had it in about a year. And all of a sudden they want it now because it's scarce. It's not there all the time. That is chapter 12. We will do more stuff next week. I'll post stuff on Blackboard and email you as you keep going. Make sure you're reading your chapters. You guys have done well with that so far. I am grading on your speeches right now, so your second speech, your speech of information and diversity, I will have those grades to you hopefully by the end of next week. I just posted your grades for your tests. So have a great night, and I will talk to you soon.